Rec-
All right. Well, didn't know that did that, but fantastic. Um, all right, so now it's recording. Let me just get over to my screen. We're gonna go straight to the Tectia screen. All right, you should be seeing my Tectia. Yes, you are. I've already ran this. It's just timed out, so I'm just gonna sign in real fast over here. Connect without saving the key. Yep. Basic password. All right, wait. All right. I can get rid of you. I don't need you on my screen. Just CD to COP3330. We're gonna CD to our thing called grocery. I'm just gonna LS. All right, so this shows you I've got my grocery CVP driver file and the H file. I've already compiled grocery.cp and grocery driver to get the O files. Grocery list is what we're gonna be running. So I'm just gonna type that in. Oh, let me try one again. Maybe it's not a capital L. Okay, it wasn't capital L. All right, so here's your menu. Welcome to your grocery list. What would you like to do? You can present it with 5 options. You can add an item, you can remove an item, you can change the item's quantity, or you can print it, or you can quit, which is just going to end the application. Basically, here's what we're going to do A for add item. So it's going to prompt you to enter the ID. So we're going to make the ID 87. What's the name of the item? We're going to name it an apple. Description, we'll make it red. Price, we'll make it $1.99 an apple. And we'll make 4 apples. Boom, that's gonna be in the list. I'm gonna do another one. Make this one 43. We're gonna name this banana. Yellow. Make it 159. We're gonna get, you usually get a lot of bananas. We'll get 7 bananas because it's usually you get them in like the vines. And we'll do one more. We're gonna do add again. We're gonna do 94. Name an orange. Oh, description, orange. Price. You always get a lot of those for like really cheap. So I mean, do like $2. We'll do 9 of them probably. Um, enter. I'm gonna have you print the receipt. There you go. There's your receipt. So you have your IDs, item, the name of the item, the description of the item, the price, and then the quantity all listed there. And then below it says total cost. I've just done that as a nice easy thing so they don't have to calculate it. It's just gonna tell them right there. I'll explain that in the code later. Um, so we're gonna demonstrate the change, the update command more, but I just called it change for change item quantity. So we're gonna do what items quantity want to change. This is prompting them to enter the ID for the item. So we'll change the orange to 94. What new quantity we want? Let's say they want to downsize it to 6. It's gonna update. I will print it again. And as you can tell for the orange, the added quantity went from 9 to 6. Also, the total went down from $37.09 to now $31.09. So now we're going to demonstrate the remove function. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to remove the apple. So what would you like to remove? So enter the same ID, 87. Item 87 was removed. So now let's print. Boom. And they've all shifted up, if you notice that. It didn't leave a space. They've all shifted up one. So now we're going to add the apple back to the list. So item 87, apple, red. What we call it? We said 199, and we'll make 9. All right, then just printing this one more time. Boom, it's back at the bottom of the list. And there we go. So this is the newest item. So there's total cost, and we're going to press quit. Boom, quit. It's going to print your receipt. It shows you the total cost, and it as eloquently Exit the program. So there's that. Now I'm going to move my screen over to VS Code. Yep, here we are. All right, so we are going to start with the basic H file. So H, we're just including IOStream in the string library since we're name description are strings. We're using namespace standard. So here's our item class. This is our just insertion operator overload, just so that we can print stuff. Made a friend function, of course. Our private data members, string name, our string name description. And then our ints are the IDs for the items as we saw, and the quantities. And then double price, because price is not just one digit, it's multiple. Publics, we have our basic our default constructor for item. This is our parameterized constructor, which is all of them. We made these const string by reference, just to make sure there's no copies being made here. Then we have our getter for the ID, make that const, our getter for the name, getter for description, price, and quantity. And notice here, we only have one setter here for quantity because there's only one thing we're changing is the quantity. It's the only thing the person can change. Can't change anything else. We just made a setter for quantity within Q. Going down the cart, this is our actual like array. So basic friend function, once again, privates, this is where we're making an array of class of type item. We're making items for the array. Then we have our int size and capacity for the array. This is our basic default constructor. Cart is we're in the cart class. This is our copy constructor for cart. This is our destructor for cart. And here is our operator overload for copying for cart for assignment. So this is like our deep copy constructor. And then we have our functions, our add function, our remove function, our change function, or the update function, you could call it, and then our read function. Then we have our getter for get size. I'll explain to you why this comes in later. This is just comes in for making that total cost thing. And then for our get items, which comes in later as well, of type item star. Notice that's pointing to a pointer here. Going over to our implementation file, include grocery.h, basic using standard. This is our, once again, our operator overload for insertion, just putting out c.id, .name, description, price. That's what we saw when we were used the printed. Our default constructor set to zeros. Notice the difference for the strings. We're setting it to nothing, not zero. This is our parameterized constructor using this as then because they're the same variable. So you have to use this. For get ID, just returning ID from the user. Name, description, price, quantity, all that fun stuff for getters. We have our setter, quantity equals Q, because we did have a different variable here. So that's why I'm not using this for this one. Now for the second operator overload for insertion, we're using, because this is the array, this is the dynamic array that we're using. So it's using a for loop to go from I to the current size, and then just printing out the C for C dot items, which is just the array I. So it's going to print out every item. Basic default constructor for cart, just setting capacity to 10, size to 0. And then we're making the new array of items equals new item capacity. That's actually making it of that capacity 10. We have our copy constructor, size equals C dot size, capacity equals C dot capacity. We're making the new array, that way we can actually, we're making the new array that we can copy all the stuff from items to C dot items down there in the for loop. You have your basic destructor. This is just deleting items. That way there's no memory leaks. And then down here in our deep copy constructor or assignment overload, size equals C dot size, same thing. The only difference is here is where we're deleting items before we make the new array for that. So items equals new item capacity. That's the big difference between that and that. Instead of making a shallow, this is making deep copies of it. And then we're just returning this. Going down to our add function, this is just checking to see if size goes over to capacity. Because if it does, we need to increase the capacity for the array to avoid segmentation faults for going out of bounds. And then for the for loops, we've made a new array of items of item temp. That's gonna be the new one. And then so this way we get the for loop of transferring everything from items into temp. And then we're deleting items. And then we're transferring everything back from temp to items, and then we're increasing the capacity. And then we're just increasing size by 1. That's all we're doing down there. For void carts, so this is for the update function or change what I called it just to make it different. Just there's our new quantity Q. See out what is the new quantity C and in Q. The index is this is to help us find the what item we're changing. So it's our basic for loop, I less than size, I start with 0, I plus plus, an if statement. So we're using items I dot get ID. So we're checking for each item in the cart if the ID matches the ID that we've gotten from the user from our get ID function. If it does, the index equals I, and it's gonna break. So it's not gonna check for the rest of it. It's gonna find it, it's gonna leave it because that's the item we're changing. So it's avoiding it checking everyone taking a lot longer. And then right there, items of index, which index will equal I, items I dot set quantity Q. It's gonna change the quantity. Going over to the remove function. Int index is the exact same thing as change in the finding. This is helping us find it. And then down here, if index doesn't equal 0, doesn't equal -1, which means we found the item, it's going to go from starting at index to size -1, and it's going to shift all the items after index left. So it's going to shift everything on top of it, and it's going to decrease the size 1. That's how we're going to make sure we're deallocating the space, and that it's not just going to have multiple random spaces at the end. And then outing item blank was removed from cart, just letting the user know that it did. You can also print to see, but just lets them know that it was removed. And then if the ID wasn't found, it's going to print the item was not found in the cart, and nothing's going to happen. And this is our getter for get size and get items. Once again, this comes over later. Going over to our driver file, just setting up grocery lists. This is what we're calling it for the array. Choice comes down here later. Select the item down there later. Welcome to grocery list. Here's the menu. We're seeing in choice. Setting all the variables, making a switch statement for where they put A for the add. See ignoring, just make sure, because or else it's gonna, go out of control. Then we have an ID, name, description, price, quantity, and then this is actually making the grocery list for this. So when they're adding it, this is what's grocery list dot add item, all that stuff, and it's gonna break. For remove, just we're gonna show them the grocery list and going, what item would you like to remove? The selected item is what they're gonna enter, which is that ID that we're getting from the user, and it's gonna remove it. And it's gonna break. For change, printing it again. What items quantity you want to change? Taking in the ID, changing it. Calling the change function. For print, printing receipt, the grocery list, and this is where that total costing comes in. So we're declaring the new variable total cost. And then this is going to take grocery list dot get size, because you can't use size here because it's a private member function of the item class. We're not using the item class right now, so we have to use a get size getter in the cart class to access that private data member. And then down here in the total one, this is where that get items one comes in from, because once again, items is a private data member. So you have to have a getter to get that thing. And then get price. Price is a public, we have a getter back there, so we can just call that. And then we're multiplying that times the grocery list get items, same thing. But this time, instead of get price, we're doing get quantity. That way, sorry, I dropped something. That way, if someone enters an orange that's price $2, and get and the quantity is 4, that way it's showing the total cost is $8 instead of 2. And then it's just printing the total cost down below. And then same thing for the quit function. It's doing the exact same thing as print. And then for default, sorry, I can't do that if they don't enter the right thing. And then the reason Q is different is because we have a do while. So while choice isn't that it's going to do it again. It's going to let them keep adding stuff or moving stuff or changing stuff. But once they put Q, they can't do that anymore. All right. Thank you very much for listening to me speak. Hope everything goes well, and hope I do well on this one. I think I did very well on this one. Thank you. Share. Stop recording.